All right, get ready because we are diving deep into a question that I'm sure you've thought about before. Is giving truly selfless? Or is it just, an evolutionary trick to make us feel better?
Hmm, that's a good question.
Today we're going to unpack the science behind why giving back actually makes you feel good.
Yes, we're going to be exploring research, some insights from experts, and even real-life examples.
All from this article called The Science Behind Why Giving Makes You Feel Good.
Exactly.
So by the end of this deep dive, you'll understand that warm glow you get after you help others.
Yeah, and you'll also have some practical ways to weave giving into your own life.
Perfect.
It's fascinating that this isn't just some vague feel-good idea. Like, it's literally wired into our brains.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're going to be exploring how acts of generosity actually trigger, like, a cascade of neurochemicals, so almost like our own internal reward system.
So let's start with that warm, fuzzy feeling that we all know when we
Mm.
give. Is that just in our heads, or is there, real science behind it?
It's definitely not just in your head. It turns out that giving triggers the release of dopamine and serotonin.
Interesting.
Yeah, and those are the same neurochemicals that are associated with pleasure and happiness.
Oh, wow.
So think about how good you feel, after a delicious meal or you just finished a great workout.
Yeah.
Giving can actually trigger a similar response in your brain.
So our brains are actually designed to reward us for giving. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. And the research actually gets even more interesting when you start to look at the specific brain regions that are involved.
Okay.
Like when we give our prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain responsible for decision-making, lights up, which suggests that we're making a conscious choice.
So we're not just acting on instinct, we're actively choosing to be generous.
Right.
But if giving is so rewarding for us, does that make it inherently, selfish?
That's a great question. And it really gets at the heart of kind of the debate about altruism.
Hmm.
Some researchers believe that even the most seemingly selfless acts are ultimately driven by a desire to feel good or gain social approval.
Interesting.
But there's also another side to the coin.
Okay. I'm all ears. What's the other side?
Well, let's think about it from an evolutionary perspective.
Okay.
Think back to our early ancestors who lived in small, interdependent groups.
Right.
Cooperation and altruism, helping others, even if it means putting yourself at risk, would have been essential to survival.
So, sharing food with someone who's struggling to hunt or helping to defend the group from predators?
Exactly. It's like a we're all in this together kind of thing for survival.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the people who are more inclined to help others, probably had a better chance of passing on their genes.
Hmm.
And so over time, this could have actually led to the evolution of altruistic tendencies in humans.
So basically, even if there's a selfish element to feeling good when we give, it could be a sign that our brains are wired for cooperation
Right.
and survival.
That's one way to look at it.
Mhm.
And this ancient wiring might explain why even today, strong social bonds are so crucial for our well-being.
Yeah.
We thrive in communities where people help each other out.
Okay, so we've established that giving has some serious benefits for our mental and emotional well-being.
Right.
But I'm curious, does this helper's high actually have any impact on our physical health?
It does. There's a growing body of research that shows that giving is linked to better physical health outcomes.
Oh, wow.
For example, studies have shown that people who volunteer regularly tend to have lower blood pressure and a reduced risk of heart disease.
Wow. So giving isn't just good for the soul, it's good for the body, too.
Exactly. And get this, one study actually found that people who volunteered regularly had a 44% lower risk of dying over a 5-year period
What? 44%?
compared to those who didn't volunteer.
Seriously, that's a huge number. What's the connection there? What's the connection between volunteering and living longer?
Well, remember how we talked about giving reducing stress?
Yeah.
Chronic stress is really damaging to our bodies.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It can contribute to, everything from heart disease to a weakened immune system.
Yeah, it's true.
And by helping others, we're essentially combating that stress, which leads to a healthier mind and body.
That's pretty amazing. So it's like giving creates this ripple effect, benefiting not only the person receiving the help, but the giver too, on a deep level.
Yeah, you got it. And that ripple effect even extends further when you consider, the social benefits of giving,
Okay.
particularly in the realm of volunteering. Volunteering not only helps others, but it also helps to foster meaningful connections and strengthen communities.
I've always thought of volunteering as, obviously something that benefits others, but I never really considered the impact it could have on my own life.
Yeah.
Tell me more about those social benefits.
Well, volunteering is a fantastic way to connect with like-minded people,
Hmm.
who share your passion for giving back. It can help you expand your social circle, build lasting friendships, and feel a greater sense of belonging in your community.
So it's not just about donating your time, it's about building genuine connections.
Exactly. And for a lot of people, volunteering provides like a profound sense of purpose and meaning in their lives.
Hmm.
It's about feeling like you're making a real difference in the world, no matter how big or how small your contribution may be.
I'm starting to see how giving isn't just about being nice, it's about cultivating a more connected, fulfilling, and even healthier life. It's like a win-win-win. We help others, we strengthen our communities, and we benefit ourselves. But for someone who's never really considered giving as part of their routine, where do they even begin?
That's where the beauty of giving really lies. It can be as simple or as grand as you want it to be. There's no one size fits all.
Okay, that makes sense.
The key is to find something that really resonates with your values and your interests.
Okay. But let's say you're someone who's always been curious about giving, but never really knew where to start. What are some practical ways to dip your toes in to the world of generosity?
Well, one great place to start is with just small acts of kindness.
Oh, yeah.
These can be incredibly powerful, even if they seem insignificant at the time.
Hmm.
Think about holding the door open for someone or, offering a genuine compliment or simply just lending an ear to a friend who's going through a tough time.
I love that. It's like remembering that kindness is a muscle that we can flex every day.
Exactly. And each time you flex that kindness muscle, remember that your brain is releasing those feel-good chemicals,
Yeah.
reinforcing that positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
You're not just brightening someone else's day, you're boosting your own well-being in the process.
It's like a secret weapon for happiness that we all have access to.
Yeah.
But let's say you're ready to kind of take your giving to the next level. What about more structured ways to give back, like volunteering?
Yeah, volunteering is a fantastic option for those who are looking for a more hands-on and impactful way to give back.
Okay.
And the beauty of volunteering is that there's really something out there for everyone.
I've always been a bit overwhelmed by the number of volunteering opportunities that are out there. Any tips on how to navigate that and find the right fit for you?
A great way to start is to think about your passions and your interests. What issues are you most passionate about?
Okay.
What skills or talents do you have that you could share with others?
So if you're an animal lover, you could volunteer at an animal shelter.
Exactly.
If you're passionate about education, you could mentor a child. Or tutor adults learning English.
Yeah, exactly. And don't be afraid to think outside the box. There are countless ways to volunteer.
Yeah.
From helping out at your local food bank to participating in community cleanups to offering your professional skills to nonprofit organizations.
I love that idea of finding something that aligns with your passions. It's like turning your interests into action, which is, I think, bound to be more rewarding.
Absolutely. And remember, volunteering is not just about giving back to your community. It's also about personal growth and development. You might discover hidden talents, learn new skills, and gain a fresh perspective on life.
Okay, so we've talked about small acts of kindness.
Right.
We've talked about structured volunteering.
Yep.
What about those who want to make a financial contribution? Is there a right way to approach giving when it comes to money?
Well, when it comes to financial giving, the most important thing is to find a cause that you really believe in.
Okay.
Do some research about different organizations, look into their mission and impact, and choose one that really resonates with your values.
So it's less about the amount that you give and more about the intention
Yeah,
and where your values lie.
exactly. Whether you're donating $5,000 or $5,000, what matters most is that you're giving from the heart with a genuine desire to make a difference.
This all makes so much sense, but let's get back to the science for a minute. We talked about the feel-good chemicals that are released when we give.
Yeah.
But is there any research into the long-term impacts of giving on our overall happiness?
There is. Studies have shown that people who regularly engage in giving, whether it's through volunteering, donating, or simply performing acts of kindness, they tend to experience higher levels of happiness and life satisfaction over time.
No, wow.
It's like building up a reservoir of positivity that spills over into all areas of your life.
So it's not just a fleeting moment of joy. It's like you cultivate a more joyful life in general.
Yeah, it really is. And it all comes back to that, that interconnectedness that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
When we give to others, we're not only making their lives better, but we're also enriching our own lives in the process.
As we're talking, I keep thinking about how often, like, we all get caught up in the, like, day-to-day hustle and bustle of life, focusing on our own to-do lists and worries.
Right.
And giving almost seems like a countercultural act
Mm.
in a world that often prioritizes individual achievement above all else.
That's a great point. In our fast-paced, individualistic society, it's easy to lose sight of the importance of community and connection.
Yeah.
And giving is a powerful way to break out of that individualistic bubble and tap into something larger than ourselves.
It's like remembering that we're all in this together, and that helping others is not just a nice thing to do. It's essential for our collective well-being.
Exactly. And when we shift our focus from me to we actually open ourselves up to a whole new world of possibilities.
Mhm.
We start to see the interconnectedness of all things. And we realize that our actions, no matter how small, they have a ripple effect that extends far beyond ourselves.
It's almost like giving is a way of tapping into our shared humanity,
Yeah,
recognizing that we're all part of something much larger than ourselves.
I love that perspective. And it reminds me of a quote from the Dalai Lama. He said, "If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion."
Oh, wow.
It's a beautiful reminder that happiness is not a solitary pursuit. It's something that we cultivate together.
That's so true. And it brings us back to that initial question. Is giving truly selfless, or is it a clever evolutionary trick for personal gain? That maybe it's not about choosing one or the other. Maybe it's about recognizing the interplay between selflessness and self-interest.
Yeah, that's a great point. Perhaps the true beauty of giving lies in the fact that it kind of transcends those categories altogether.
Okay.
It's about recognizing our shared humanity, acting with kindness and compassion, and creating a more joyful and fulfilling world for everyone.
Speaking of creating a more joyful world, I'm curious to hear more about the concept of the helper's high.
Yeah.
Is that just like a catchy phrase, or is there actual scientific evidence to support the idea that, like, helping others makes us feel good?
It's not just a catchy phrase. Researchers have actually used brain imaging techniques to study what happens in the brain when we engage in acts of kindness.
Oh, cool.
And guess what? They found that giving actually activates the same reward pathways in the brain that are triggered by pleasurable experiences.
Really?
Yeah, like eating delicious food or listening to music.
So our brains are literally wired to reward us for being kind.
Yeah, it really is. And the feel-good effects of giving go beyond just like a momentary rush of dopamine.
Mm-hmm.
Studies have shown that giving can actually lead to a more sustained sense of happiness and well-being.
So it's not just a fleeting feeling of, like, euphoria. It's about, like, cultivating a more positive mindset.
Exactly. By incorporating giving into our lives, we're not just making a difference in the world, we're also investing in our own mental and emotional health.
Okay.
It's like a win-win situation for everyone involved.
Okay, I'm sold. But let's be real. Sometimes life gets in the way. And
Right.
finding the time and the energy to give can feel kind of overwhelming.
Right.
Any tips for busy people who want to, incorporate giving into their lives, but, like, without feeling totally stressed out?
That's a great question. And it's important to remember that giving doesn't have to be this grand, time-consuming gesture.
Right.
Even small acts of kindness can have a huge impact. So start by looking for just little ways to weave generosity into your everyday routine.
So instead of feeling like you need to, like, dedicate hours to volunteering or donate a large sum of money, you can start by just being more mindful of, like, the opportunities to just be kind in your, like, every day.
Exactly. Maybe you let someone go ahead of you in line at the grocery store, or you offer to help a colleague with a challenging task. These small acts might seem insignificant, but they can really have a ripple effect,
Yeah.
brightening someone's day and making you feel good in the process.
It's like remembering that kindness is a muscle that we can exercise every day.
Exactly.
And over time, those small acts can really add up.
Absolutely. And if you're looking for, a more structured way to give back, consider consider finding a volunteer opportunity that kind of fits into your schedule and your interests.
Okay.
Maybe you commit to volunteering at a local food bank once a month, or you mentor a child for an hour a week.
Finding that sweet spot where your passions and your available time kind of intersect,
Yeah.
that's key.
Right.
And it brings us back to the idea that, giving is not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Yeah.
It's about finding what works for you and weaving it into your life in a way that feels, sustainable.
Got it. And remember, giving is not just about donating your time or your money. It's about sharing your unique gifts with the world. Maybe you're a great listener, a talented artist, or a skilled organizer. Whatever your strengths are, there's a way to use them to make a positive impact.
This all makes so much sense. But as we're kind of wrapping up this part of our deep dive, I'm wondering if there's a specific story or anecdote from your own life that really exemplifies the power of giving, like a moment that truly solidified your belief in the importance of generosity.
That's a great question. There have been so many moments throughout my life where I've witnessed the transformative power of giving.
Okay.
But one story that always comes to mind is,
Ooh, I want to hear this. Tell me more.
well, it actually involves a community garden.
Okay.
I volunteered at a few years back, and the garden was in a low-income neighborhood.
Okay.
And it was designed to provide fresh produce for families in the neighborhood,
Oh, that's nice.
but also create a sense of community.
I love that. Community gardens are such a cool concept.
Yeah, it was really transformative, not just for the community, but for me personally.
Really?
I went in thinking, I'm here to teach people how to garden. But I ended up learning so much more from them. I saw firsthand how something as simple as, sharing a garden could really bring people together, foster a sense of belonging, and empower people to, to kind of take ownership of their own well-being and health.
That's what I love about volunteering. It's like a two-way street. You go in expecting to give, but you end up receiving so much in return.
Absolutely. And it reminds me of something we discussed earlier, that idea of giving as a clever evolutionary strategy for personal gain.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not about labeling it as selfless or selfish,
Yeah.
but recognizing that, that beautiful interplay between the two.
Yeah.
We give and we receive a sense of purpose, connection, and joy.
It's like that saying, it is in giving that we receive.
Exactly.
We might set out to make a difference in other people's lives, but we end up enriching our own lives in the process.
Exactly. And as we wrap up this deep dive into the science of giving, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier.
Okay.
This idea of philanthropy.
Yeah.
We often think of philanthropy as something that's reserved for the wealthy.
Right.
But in reality, it's a mindset that we can all embrace.
That's true. It doesn't have to be about, huge sums of money.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about, using whatever resources you have,
Yeah.
whether it's your time, your skills, your compassion, to make the world a better place.
It's about shifting our perspective from what can I get
Yeah.
to what can I give?
Exactly.
Recognizing that, we all have something to offer, and even small acts can make a big difference.
I love that. And it actually reminds me of a quote from Anne Frank.
Oh, okay.
She said, "No one has ever become poor by giving." It's a beautiful reminder that generosity is not about depleting ourselves. It's about expanding our capacity for love, compassion, connection.
That's a powerful message. So giving isn't about sacrificing or depriving ourselves. It's more about tapping into this wellspring of abundance
Exactly.
that we all have.
Yeah. And as we conclude this exploration of giving, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question.
Okay, shoot.
What if we all made a conscious effort to cultivate a spirit of generosity in our lives? What kind of world could we create if giving became the norm rather than the exception?
That's a beautiful vision. It really brings us back to the core message of this entire deep dive. Giving isn't just a nice thing to do. It's a powerful force for, positive change in ourselves, in our communities, in the world.
Absolutely. And remember, it all starts with a single act of kindness, just a willingness to step outside of yourself and extend a helping hand.
So as you're going about your day today, ask yourself, what's one small act of giving that I can do to brighten someone else's day and, experience that helper's high for myself?
Yeah. Maybe it's offering a genuine compliment or lending a listening ear or simply holding the door open for a stranger. These small acts might seem insignificant, but they have the power to ripple outward,
Mhm.
create this chain reaction of kindness.
Yeah, absolutely. So go out there, be generous, and discover those incredible benefits. And remember, the world is a better place when we choose to give.